What do you think? What should I be using all the time for my YouTube videos, for the studio shots, my speaking parts, regardless the topic of the video? The Canon R8 or the Sony ZV-E1? Let me know in the comments. What's up guys, Dan Frullani here and welcome back to a new video. Today I would like to talk about the Canon R8 and the Sony ZV-E1. What about them? I would just like your opinion. Okay, thing is, when I make my videos, my YouTube videos, I have quite a few cameras, but in the end I always use either my Canon R8 or my Sony ZV-E1. So regardless the topic of the video, for my studio shot I pick one of these two cameras. And the good thing about it is that one of the lenses I use on my Canon R8 and also Canon R6, R7 and so on is the same one that I use on my Sony ZV-E1 for these kind of shots in studio, because it's an EF lens that I can use with the adapter also on the Sony ZV-E1, and it works fantastically. I already made a video about it where I show how it works, how it performs. The 16 to 35mm f2.8 Mark II on the Sony ZV-E1. Now at 30mm I could go wider of course, but let's say the sweet spot when it comes to framing like this way, exactly like this, and the way I look, like my face, my features. This focal length, 30mm more or less, doesn't distort, doesn't make me look much thinner than I actually am, like my face like a skeleton. If I go wider, I look too thin. So 30mm is what I generally use when uses this wonderful lens, sometimes wider depending what I need, even if I look too skinny. So I film in C-Log, C-Log 3, and I color grade it in post. And this is what it looks like. And now I'm gonna show you the same lens, the Canon 16 to 35mm f2.8 Mark II with the adapter on the Sony ZV-E1. And here it is, the Sony ZV-E1 with the same lens, just different adapter. Because on the Canon R8 I use the adapter to adapt EF lenses on RF cameras by Canon. On the Sony ZV-E1 I use the 7 Artisans adapter, so I can use EF lenses on my Sony cameras. In this case, on the Sony ZV-E1 with the Canon EF 16 to 35mm f2.8 Mark II. As you can see, it's a totally different look. When I color grade the footage in post from Canon and from Sony, my goal is not to match their colors, but rather to embrace their peculiarities, their different color sciences, play around with them, and make them look the way I want, the way I like. So for Canon, for the results I can achieve is definitely always gonna be different from the results I achieved with Sony, but I like them both. They're just different. So let me know what you think about it and leave a comment down below. Back on the Canon R8 with the 16 35mm f2.8 C-Log 3 color graded in DaVinci Resolve here. So let me know what you think about it and leave a comment down below and tell me what you prefer for this look, for this framing, this kind of scenario with the same lens, same everything. The Canon R8 that you're seeing right now or the Sony ZV-E1, just let me know. And since you're there, just subscribe if you haven't already. And check the links in the description to see all my gear stuff and things, my gear. And check the link to Artlist. You can get 2 months of awesome music, great sound effects, 2 months for free if you subscribe to an annual plan through my links. Now, when I make my YouTube videos, I use also another lens besides this awesome 16 to 35mm f2.8. For my Canon cameras, I use an RF lens, which in my opinion is incredible. Even though it's not an L series lens, it should be given the red ring because it performs wonderfully. And I love the way it looks. The RF 35mm f1.8. Let's see it now. And here it is. It's the Canon R8 now with the Canon RF 35mm f1.8 all the way to f1.8. Unfortunately, I can't use this lens on my Sony ZV-E1 because this is an RF lens and I can't adapt it to the Sony E-mount. But for the Sony ZV-E1, I have some wonderful lens. Even though it's not a 35mm, which is a different focal length, it's such an incredible lens that even if it's a 55mm, I make things do here in my small studio in terms of space to be able to use it for my Sony ZV-E1. And man, I love that lens. Let's check it out. And so here it is, the Sony ZV-E1 with the Sony Zeiss 55mm f1.8. Totally different look, this time also for the focal length, because as you can see, now the framing is a little bit tighter and there's more compression. Just let me know what you think about it. So these are the lenses I use the most when I make YouTube videos here in my studio. For both the Canon R8 and the Sony ZV-E1, the 16 to 35mm f2.8 with different adapters, of course. And for the Canon R8, the RF 35mm f1.8 because I love the look of it. And it's a native lens, so I can't use it on my Sony ZV-E1 because I can't find an adapter to adapt RF lenses to Sony cameras, not yet. And I don't have a 35mm yet for my Sony, but I have this one, which I love. It has the 3D pop, the Sony Zeiss 55mm f1.8. Again, totally different look, color grading. For the Canon R8, I filmed in C-Log 3. For the Sony ZV-E1, S-Log 3. And then in post, in DaVinci Resolve, I color graded each footage from each camera independently, just trying to make them look the way I like. So, what do you think? What should I be using all the time for my YouTube videos, for the studio shots, my speaking parts, regardless the topic of the video? The Canon R8 or the Sony ZV-E1? Let me know in the comments. Okay, let's wrap it up. I think I don't have anything else to say. So I really hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, smash the like button, subscribe if you ain't already, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Oh yeah!